Hi folks, welcome to the end of our course. Congratulations on your persistence and your good effort, which has paid off, in my opinion, based on the quality of your writing. A lot of people come to English 101 and tell me, just not a writer. This is a common sentiment, but I can tell you that writing is not easy for anyone. And in writing, as in college, grit, persistence, is much more of an indicator of success than any kind of natural aptitude or talent. So each of you is talented in different ways, but I would say that all of you have the capacity and have demonstrated the ability to be excellent writers. It's my hope that this course has given you a toolkit from which to draw, to apply in other classes in your college career and beyond that. It's time for us now to turn our attention to the completion of the research paper, the culminating project in the course. I've given you my feedback, and we have a good chunk of time now for you to use to incorporate that. Now I'm going to be available to you in Canvas, and you have my cell phone number so you can text me at the moment that you have questions. Take advantage of those forms of communication because I want to be a resource for you as you finish your final project. Now, a couple of details. Okay, as we conclude with week 8 and the research paper. You don't have to write all this down. This is just an illustration. There are other resources I provided for you this week. This is an illustration of logical fallacies. So if you look at the top left, the straw man fallacy involves misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. Let's say your wife says, "You don't take out the trash very often." And then you reply, "Are you saying I never take out the trash? I took out the trash 3 weeks ago." All right? So if you misrepresent an argument, it gets easier to refute it. But you haven't really refuted the argument because you haven't really listened carefully and understood your opponent before answering your opponent. That's just one really domestic and simple example. But each of these on this page is something to be aware of when we're thinking, when we're writing. Just underneath of that, the slippery slope. Gosh, if I let one student turn in one assignment just a little bit late, pretty soon the whole class will be turning in their work late, and it'll be anarchy. No, I have to be absolutely rock solid on every policy. Well, is that really true? Sometimes people need flexibility because things come up in their lives, and we can take it on a case-by-case basis. All right? So the slippery slope argument, the straw man argument, and many others, we need to be looking at as we write arguments, as we write persuasive papers. Because we want to be able to point those out in our opponents when they commit those errors, and we want to make sure we don't make those types of errors. So some of our work this week, we'll take a look at logical fallacies, how to identify them, and therefore also how to avoid them. Okay, so you've been staying on track wonderfully all through the semester, and now it's time to thoroughly revise your research paper. Notice the 2-week pattern has been developed for this course, a drafting week, a revision week, in order to emphasize the value of pre-writing, planning, and revision. The time we take on either side of a paper, before we write it, and then after the first draft, that is what makes a C paper an A paper. Too often people write and print, or write and submit their work, "Oh, I'm done." But writing, in fact, is a process that requires foundational development and then concluding revision and polish. This course is designed to emphasize that. Okay, as you finish the research project, please use the Academic Support Center tutoring. The college will be closed through spring break, which ends, I think, for the college and the Academic Support Center on Wednesday of this week. Okay? Read your professor's comments in the margin of your draft. Make sure you can see them and ask me if you can. I'll help you. They are extensive. Your final paper is due the 20th of March, and then I'm asking for final thoughts and a tutoring report in the last discussion of our class on March 21st. Okay, as always, I emphasize, right, from hook to light bulb. Look at your introduction, make sure there's something to grab your reader. Look at that conclusion and make sure you've explained why your thesis matters. Most of all, perhaps, you need to remember that highlighted yellow chunk in the first introduction here of this graphic organizer, this graphic depiction of a 5-paragraph essay. It has a thesis, it's bright yellow, to remind you you cannot avoid and you should never neglect writing a clear, persuasive thesis. Make sure that your introduction has a persuasive thesis, a statement that is not just fact, but with which some would disagree. I provided optional thesis statements for you to use in the class notes, and then restate that thesis in the conclusion. The subpoints are also a useful tool, which we've explained earlier in this course. Then finally, make sure that each paragraph in some way must support your thesis and a topic or a concluding sentence within that paragraph, entirely in your own words. No quotations, please, in the topic or the conclusion sentences. But in that topic or conclusion sentence of each paragraph of your paper, there should be some indication of how that information offered in that paragraph supports your thesis statement, your persuasive, argumentative thesis statement. Okay? This was the whole purpose of the outline that we completed last week to show that focus. Okay? If you notice Roman numerals 2, 3, 4 say main, second main, third main idea in support of thesis statement. Then the opposing viewpoint must not be neglected. Ensure that you have an alternative perspective or an opposing viewpoint somewhere in your paper. Hey, not everyone is going to agree with my thesis. Some people, in fact, think, CIT training is too expensive or unnecessary. I don't know what the alternative perspective or the opposing view may be that you identify, but ensure that it's there and that you refute it or answer it or explain why it's incomplete. This whole slide to emphasize the point I just made, okay? Because I saw some weak opposing viewpoints or some absent opposing views in some of the drafts I was looking at, okay? Ask me if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. Okay, now I issue to you a challenge to incorporate at least 5 good sentence builders templates. The templates are just the phrases with the blanks that you can fill in. Now I've guided you through what I think are the main ideas that are really helpful for this paper. Capturing authorial action, introducing and explaining quotations, agreeing and disagreeing simultaneously, entertaining objections, establishing why your claims matter, commonly used transitions. Okay, these are main high points from this Good Sentence Builders page. If you incorporate at least 5, the quality of the nuance and subtlety and academic expression of your paper will go up. So please use those. Some of you are using them already, and I appreciate that. Okay, finally, do your best. As with anything in life, what you invest determines your return. Investment determines return. Okay? Do your best, reflect upon all that you have learned. These concepts and these skills will be useful to you throughout your college career and hopefully beyond. These are some of the things we've looked at. Understanding the rhetorical situation, the circumstances surrounding your writing, proper APA formatting and source citation. In some classes it may be MLA, others APA. There's also Chicago style and other styles. The point is academic writing requires specific and detailed formatting. You would understand if you had to read thousands of papers a year why that's helpful. Brainstorming and outlining. Modes of writing like narrative, reflection, annotated bibliography, persuasive. Methods for peer reviewing and for revising papers. The basic 5-paragraph essay structure, which is helpful. A guideline for us. Not something that you can't depart from, but a guideline. The importance of the use of opposing views, or making sure you have correct and varied sentence structure, proper punctuation, a clear writer's voice with some personality, attention to Aristotle's principles for rhetoric, right? That's logos, the logic of your argument. Ethos, your accountability as a writer. Pathos, emotional appeal. Okay? Unity in academic writing. That's that hook to light bulb, threaded thesis all the way through. And finally, identifying and avoiding logical fallacies. Thank you, gentlemen, and ladies, for your good work. I appreciate everybody who's contributed to this course, both the students and the Academic Support Center. And so I just want to say I'm a resource for you, and as you push through to the end, don't hesitate to use that resource. Best wishes on your papers.